Hello and welcome to Business Reporter's Human Capital Campaign. I'm Alistair Greener and today I'm talking to Nicola Smart from HFX. Good morning.
Good morning.
What are some of the heaviest demands and market pressures on business today that require maybe a whole new way of thinking when it comes to employment strategy?
The biggest key for success for most companies is its talent, its people. And what we're seeing at the moment is a very fierce war for talent, where money is not enough anymore for people. They're looking for other benefits that are going to enhance their quality of life. And a flexible way of working is very, very important now for employees when looking for a new job. And I think it's very important to stress that this shouldn't be seen as a cost burden to managers and owners of businesses, but more as a business opportunity.
Talking about that war for talent and employee engagement and so on, can you maybe give us an example of where actually as a result of that not working, companies have failed to deliver?
Well, I think we all probably remember the disaster that Ryanair had in September last year, September 2017, when their pilot shifts got messed up and 400,000 passengers were stranded, 50 flights a day were cancelled. But interestingly, looking behind the headline of the pilot planning, it seems that the underlying problem was actually massive discontent with the working conditions and with the corporate culture within Ryanair, which meant that they were finding it very difficult to retain pilots. And in fact, in 2017, they lost 700 pilots, which again demonstrates this war for talent. The pool for pilots is not that large, and so there's very much within that sector a war for the right talent.
And what about the more positive side, ones maybe companies who have got it right?
Well, interestingly, Glassdoor Best Companies to Work survey from 2018, the top 5 companies there all do practice flexible working.
Let's say I'm not one of those companies.
Yeah.
I'm a CEO of an organisation where we're not delivering, and I decide that we need a radical new approach to our staffing, and maybe I'm looking at the idea of flexi work that you've talked about. Mm-hmm. Can you give us some of the specific benefits that I, as a CEO, is going to notice?
I mentioned before that I really do feel it's always a win-win situation. So not only is the employee happy, but also management or the owner will certainly be very happy once this is introduced. So the headline benefits, I think that a CEO would see, firstly, going back again to the war for talent because it's very relevant. I think he or she will instantly see an improvement in managing to win the best candidates for the positions that they're trying to recruit for. Secondly, in terms of staff retention, staff turnover is very negative and expensive for companies, and that is also a metric that should improve fairly fast when employees are more happy and they're working with a more flexible working policy. Thirdly, customer service usually improves as well. If you have happy staff, they're giving good customer service. Good customer service means that you get more return business, more stable business, and more profits. So again, that's a very, very attractive benefit for most companies. Productivity is a big headline as well. Productivity. If you have staff who are properly engaged, happy, motivated, company-minded, then they will be working much more productively, and they'll be matching deadlines, they'll be doing high quality work, and therefore as a company you'll be more competitive.
It's interesting because quite often CFOs and CEOs will say, well, that's all very nice. Sometimes it can be a bit ethereal. We want something that's really quantifiable. Show us those benefits in terms of pounds. Is that possible?
Yes, very definitely. And I also come from a finance background, so I like to be able to quantify things. And there are many of these benefits that are very quantifiable. So firstly, we spoke about staff retention, staff turnover. That is very quantifiable. Most companies will have a key performance indicator, a KPI, that's part of measuring their company's success related to staff turnover because it's recognised as expensive to have high staff turnover. Secondly, in terms of customer service, like I mentioned before, you can map your return business from one year to the next. So if you implement a new policy, you can map the results, the improvement in results of our return business and the profit that leads to once you have your new policy in place. You'll have lower office and travel costs, because if you have a more flexible mobile workforce, you'll have fewer people being in the office all the time, fewer travel costs, and that is an instant saving also that you'll see in the profit and loss account. The company will be more attractive for women, high caliber women to want to work within that company. I think it's estimated that if a company has 30% of women within its workforce, generally that company will be 10% more profitable as well. So I think they're all metrics that are nicely measurable and quite useful for justifying a change in policy at the end of the day.
Throughout this interview, you've been describing a very different work environment with this flexi work, but that's here and now. So what about the future? Where are we headed with this? What are the trends that we're going to see when it comes to staffing in the workplace?
Most people don't really know, looking forward 20 years, what the world of work is going to look like, or which angle technology is going to take to change the way we're working. But I think one constant and one area that's going to grow significantly is the area of flexible working. I think the requirement now is for a much more merged day of work and home life obligations. So it's a more continual time stream as opposed to being segmented 9 to 5 and then fixing everything else around that. And that's going to be particularly propelled by the younger generation who've grown up with the ability to do that constant blending and merging because they've grown up with the technology to do it, and they are, at the end of the day, the workforce of the future. So I think it's been very interesting.
And that's the real key, isn't it? Recognising the workforce of the future, what they're going to be needing, and any organisation that is looking towards the future needs to be very aware of how that workforce is going to look and what they are indeed looking for in the environment they wish to work in. It's been fascinating finding out more. Nicola Smart from HFX, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you.